Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are at Barr Lake State Park in Brighton, Colorado. I have never been here before. I've passed by it several times, so I had some curiosity about what was down here. It is a part reservoir, part recreational facility, and part wildlife refuge. So there's a fair amount of bird and wildlife down here on the water. It's pretty interesting. Not something you'd expect to find in Colorado. The top half of the reservoir, which would be, I guess, the eastern side, is for recreational boating, things like that, and the bottom half is kind of cut off for the wildlife reserve. The park itself is about 30 minutes from my house, which was nice. About maybe another 30 minutes from Denver, and about 5 miles from the airport. So you can definitely hear the planes going overhead. It's not like you're out in the wilderness. You can definitely hear the highways on both sides and the airport and the airplanes. So it's an oasis a little bit, but you can still not get quite away. So the reason I'm out here is to try something new. The last 2 trips I've been on have not done very well. I wasn't able to get what I wanted, and I think part of the problem was I was trying for something very specific as opposed to seeing what I could find on the journey itself. Going into Pawnee Buttes, I had one shot in mind. I talked about that in another video where I admitted to making a bunch of mistakes as far as my planning goes. And then the last video, when I went to the falls up in Rocky Mountain National Park, Ouzel Falls, it was probably physically a little bit more than I was able to handle and take photos and film for the YouTube channel. I had a lot going on, and I didn't plan on getting up to the falls themselves after a 3-mile uphill hike and having the strength and energy to find a photo and then have a conversation with you guys and the camera. So if you notice, if you watch that video, it's a very short video as far as what I've done before, but with good reason. I struggled a bit on that trip, and I think I overdid it. And the goal was to get a specific photo, and in pushing myself to try and get that photo, I kind of left everything else in the dust, and I didn't enjoy the trip itself. I was glad I got out to do it, but the actual, the hike in the area where I was at, as beautiful as it was, I just didn't enjoy it. I was hot, I was sweating, when I got to the top of the falls, I took a half an hour just to dry off, just sweating like a pig, just so I could get on camera and not look disgusting. Unlike today, where the walk itself it's flat. It's an 8-mile hike all the way around the lake. The trade-off is there really isn't much out here as far as interest. So it's a pretty area, but it is flat. There are very little trees. I think if you're coming out here, the goal to come out here is going to be for wildlife and for, there's lots of people riding bikes around and, going for walks and some cameras looking for birds. But other than that, it's probably not the best place to come for landscapes. But I'm not upset about that, and this is why. After that last trip, I spent some time, kind of going through some of the YouTube channels that I like to watch, and I came across a couple different pieces of advice. And the first one, which I'd heard actually several times, was, when you're going to shoot, you know, don't plan what you're going to shoot. Just plan where you're going to go, and kind of let it evolve organically as you're there. That seemed like really good advice, and I wish I'd taken that when I was up at Ouzel Falls last week, and if I was in Pawnee Beach the week before. Having a set photo that I was trying to capture was a little bit of what kind of pushed me over the edge and led to some, I think, mediocre photos at best, number one, and you know, not enjoying my time, number two. It would have been fun to go up there and do that hike at a much more leisurely pace, knowing that I don't have a destination in mind, and just being able to you know, stop as I wanted to. You know, otherwise, I knew I had a time crunch, and so when I was coming up, I kind of, you know, trucked all the way up there and you know, searched for the photo, and then, you know, had to truck all the way back out to make sure I got to the car before it was too dark, and it made for, you know, a less than enjoyable time. So, you know, I'm trying that advice this week, where I picked a spot that I'd never been to before, and I figured I'd, you know, bring the camera and you know, and see what I got when I got here. So I knew there was wildlife here. I didn't know what there was for landscape at all. Lots of water, lots of birds, but not a whole lot of interest. It's very flat, and not a whole lot of color. I mean, there's green, and that's pretty much about it. There wasn't much in the way of wildflowers, which I was hoping I'd see some of that. There's some interesting wildlife, and you know, the birds that are here. You know, there's white pelicans out here in Colorado. I don't know why, but I didn't ever expect to see pelicans living in Colorado. Florida, sure, but you know, pelicans in Colorado was kind of new to me, so I learned something. But you know, not exactly what I was coming out here for. Was you know, ducks and pelicans and bald eagles. Although if I saw some bald eagles, I might enjoy that. So maybe I'll have to look for those as I walk around. Anyway, Barr Lake. I stopped a couple times and got some photos and a little bit of video footage, which I'll work into the video at some point. I think we're gonna do some walking around. Like I said, the hike around the entire lake is about 8 miles. I don't know if I'll have the time to do that. I'd like to see kind of what happens with sunset, which is in about 2.5 hours. It is pretty cloudy right now. I don't know if that's going to clear out. It didn't look like in the forecast it was going to clear out, so it might be pretty gray for the rest of the day. But which is fine. So I'll do some walking around, see what we can find, and you know, I'm not planning on any, you know, phenomenal landscapes today, but maybe I'll get something else and go from there. I'm going to pack up. I'm at this cool little gazebo they have set up along the water here. As you walk around, you know, there's some bird blinds we can pop into and take a look at and see what we can find. See if we can find some cool waterfowl, and you know, maybe there's a landscape shot out there somewhere. I think I'm not going to find anything, or not going to find anything really good until maybe sunset rolls around, because otherwise everything's just kind of green and gray, which isn't bad. It's just not very spectacular. So anyway, let's crack on and get moving and see what we can find. So we made a quick pit stop down at one of the blinds that are set up along the edge of the water. The trail itself is probably 30 to 40 yards off the edge of the water all the way around, so it's hard to get up close. But these bird blinds give you an opportunity to come down and get some photos of some of the large waterfowl that kind of inhabit this area. You know, I said earlier, this is a wildlife refuge, and most of it's birds. I haven't seen much else There's some fox squirrels and things like that, but I think 98% of what I've seen are birds. There's one variety which I've noticed in the walk-in, which I want to try and catch if I can, is a small little yellow bird with black stripes on it, which I've never seen before. So if I get a photo of those, I'll try, but otherwise, you know, we'll keep walking and see what else we can find. As far as landscapes go, it might be tough today. It's not a spectacular area for landscapes. I was hoping for a little bit more. It's not too hot today. It's pretty cloudy. So it's been somewhat nice. So I found kind of a composition that I like. We'll see what comes out of it. Basically it's, you know, it's kind of a long flat area ending with some cool trees and the water in the background. The sky's a bit dull, but maybe I can tweak that in Photoshop or Luminar or something like that. We're still about an hour from sundown, so I'm hoping to be set up somewhere, probably back this way a little bit so I can catch the sun when it goes down, and there's enough clouds, maybe it should light something up. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, I almost wouldn't mind kind of a boring landscape if I had some cool color in the clouds, so we'll see how that goes. Well, I've made it to my spot where I want to shoot a sunset, and a lot of cloud cover. There's a little bit of color going on, but not much. We still have another, I think, 20 minutes till the sun goes down, so we may get something out of it, but right now it's just looking kind of soft. I mean, you can kind of see in the background, I think. Can you? Yeah. So, I don't know. Anyway, I'm set up, I'm ready. If it happens, we'll get some shots and you'll see them. If not, then, well, another day, right? All right, I shot as much as I could. I don't know what I got. There wasn't a lot of color. There were some oranges and golds. I wanted some blues and purples as well to get in there. A little bit of blue, but not much else. So I have no idea what's on the SD card right now. I think I took about 200 photos. So focusing in different places, switching out lenses, just trying to find, you know, something that would capture the water and then kind of the layers. If you look out, you can see the layers of the trees, and then the first row of the foothills, and then the mountains behind them, and then the clouds and the color. So that's kind of what I was going for. I didn't have much to work with, but I figured if I could do, you know, kind of layers with the colors and some cool clouds, we'd go from there. That's what I went for. I have no idea what I got. Actually, I'll just put it right up here now. I kind of liked what I saw in the viewfinder, but it'll look a lot different, I'm sure, when it's on the computer. So I'll see if I can work a little bit of editing magic and make it pretty, but you guys have seen it now. I have yet to see it, so I'm excited. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.